Hello and welcome to Chat Sith Get Banged, Team Calamity's Final Fantasy TCG podcast. I'm your host Tom Hall, and joining me today, as usual, it's the judge Mitch Lander.
Hello.
And Rich Mason.
Hello.
Sorry, the voice Rich Mason.
Always forget that part.
Yeah, so this episode is a special edition episode because we're going to be doing our review of the year 2019, and we will introduce our inaugural Chat Sith Get Banged Awards for 2019. So we've got lots of different awards, and we'll be splitting them up into categories, talking through them, nominations, and obviously the big winners from the day. But as all good award ceremonies do, before we start, we have to obviously mention those that have passed in the year that's gone. So we I need some like emotive music in the background, like some black and white stills. But so we raise our torches to Dadaluma, Riku, and obviously Joseph here, plucked away in their prime. Not seen, so a slow clap round of applause for those that have passed. But and on that somber note, we'll try and keep the rest of the show uplifting. So we've scrapped the Ronso Rage in celebration of their lives, and we'll move into our first award. So we're going to start with Deck of the Year. So just to note, we're only looking at 2019, so when we're talking about cards and things, we're only going to be focused on cards that were released in that year. There was some talk about Opus 7 because it just come out at the end of the year, so they're sort of still prevalent, but they've been scrapped. So we're looking at Opus 8 to 10, the starter decks. So we've got the 7 and the 14, which we'll get to a little bit later, and then the Wraiths and Knights. So any of those ones are all valid. No reprints, obviously, so Summon of the Year, for example, can't be Diablos because it got reprinted, because that's just a bit lame. So the first up is Deck of the Year without giving it to Wind Water. Is that the way we're going to have to go?
I think it's showing good foresight because they're going to ban Valfor this year, I imagine. In which case, we've kind of been ahead of the curve and we're touting something else that's going to sort of fill the void that's hopefully left by Wind Water, because I think the Valfor ban will sort it. So yeah, if we shut it out from this award, it's blacklisted, and we just pick something else.
Or we give it, like I said, the death rattle. I was saying earlier to the guys, but if everything we give an award, it will end up getting banned. And it's sort of some sort of terrible coincidence. So if we can give the death rattle to Wind Water, it might sort of kill it off.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to think. No, I don't, because I think I don't think it's strong enough to compete with Wind Water. My top three,
but post Valfor ban.
Oh, post Valfor ban, I think it will be the strongest deck.
Yeah,
but also
there we go.
Pre Dadaluma ban was the Deck of the Year Dadaluma Ping.
Yeah.
No, it's probably still Wind Water then, because the people that started playing the Wind Water that had was it like 4 wind backups and 1 water backup, and then we're playing Yuri Chelinka. That was all in Opus 7, which was like the tail end of last year. So that probably, and then you had like the value Wind Water as well that was running like the 4-drop Porum and stuff like that. So there's been loads of little sort of like sub Wind Water decks over the time, and they were probably the deck of the year last year.
I think this current iteration of Wind Water is the strongest though, because it seems to have an answer to everything. Like, for example, if you had that Dadaluma Ping deck, if the current Wind Water dropped an Aerith, that's it. It's sort of, they're going to struggle. I mean, I know they had I don't even think they ran Hecaton towards the end. They had they had Diabolos, which would deal with it, but
yeah. But I mean, it's also the current iteration of Wind Water is also the most toxic version of Wind Water because it has the answer to everything, and it does it in such a valuable way that that it is borderline unhealthy for the game. And then releasing that bloody Hero Tidus with Miyun and Hero Zidane, like that can just go. That can just fucking climb and bin. Like that all just needs to go.
You just get left in this place where you're like, oh, I can kill this forward, but actually I don't really want to kill it because then they're just going to play it again. And then you finally go, okay, I will kill it. and then they'll just bounce it and then play it again anyway. So yeah, very toxic. So on that note, we will give it to Windwater, Deck of the Year 2019.
Just say begrudgingly give it to Windwater.
Yeah, begrudgingly. That was the word I was looking for.
Begrudgingly.
And it can be, if it annoys you, it can be a call to arms to sort of play something to beat it.
I love how we just spent 5 minutes talking about why Windwater should be excluded from the award.
Yeah.
Give it the award.
Yeah, never mind.
Brilliant.
So let's move on to happier topics, because we don't want to talk about Windwater all day, and most of the cards are not released this year, so that's good. So we'll move into card of the year. So there could be a myriad of nominations for this one, but we're going to break it down into forward, backup, and summon and monster. So we'll start with forward, because everyone loves a forward. Who would be your nominations for card of the year?
Who's that to?
All both of you.
Oh, to both of us? Mitch can go first. He's more interested than me.
You're all looking for time to look on FFTCG.
Yeah.
I know my pick.
Oh, you go
Ben,
then.
you can go. Yeah, you go first quickly.
Oh, you're so unprepared. So it's a toss up between two, because I don't know who I should follow, because my head says Fina, because I love Fina as a card and it fits into all the wind style decks like Mono Wind, Wind Lightning, Wind Water. So my head says that it should be Fina, but my heart tells me that it's Opus 8 Laswell, because I've played it every single set, and whatever I do, I always end up back on Ice Earth. And I just think the card design is just so perfect. It's such a good card. So yeah, I don't know what to pick. I think if we're picking for like general scrutiny from the community, then I'm picking Fina. But if I don't really care about other people's opinion, I'm picking Laswell from Opus 8.
Nice. Mitchell?
So I had a quick scroll through. Yeah, that was perfectly done. Now for the other side, where I just pick a random card out of my decks and just that'll do.
Which is like Scale Toad.
So I've had a quick look through. One of the cards, which was I actually think it's a bit of a sleeper for this position, is like 5-drop Cloud.
Box Topper Cloud.
Yeah, Box Topper Cloud. I also think Nail could also fill the slot. My boy Naji, that could absolutely go in there.
Card of the year. You're having a fucking bubble.
You got Ignacio, the best fire card. But
you can tell Mitch doesn't know what he wants to say, because he's just looking at all the fire cards that are at the top of the list.
No, I actually do know my card, so there. So no, it's not Cloud or Nail. And the second place, I would actually give it to Gabranth.
Yeah,
because I think that's a very strong card. But I think the card that's produced the most creativity recently is for Sawyer, the 7-drop. I think a lot of decks around that, you've seen it with Agrius, you've seen it with Unai. I dare say you'll see it with something in the future. I just think it's a very good card, and it's going to be seen a lot in the future due to that.
Nice. So Mitch has gone for 3 there. So
no, for Sawyer.
It is just for Sawyer.
I mean, it sort of speaks a lot about how the game is progressing here. Like you actually were able to nominate fire cards, like seriously, as like a card of the year. Because fire's always been a bit of a meme, but yeah, some really nice fire stuff coming through. Duncan obviously came as well. There's some balance, but maybe Duncan's a sleeper. We'll see more of Duncan. Yeah, I'm just scrolling through as well, and it's quite hard to pick. I would also go for Gabranth, sort of an honourable mention, because that is a very good card. It fits nicely if you're playing if you really should be playing Gabranth. But I like Arden. That's been fun.
Has it?
When you play it.
You've clearly not played against it.
Garland 9, lovely toxic card. That's a beautiful one as well.
You can see how Tom likes to play.
The community side, we should give a shout out to Veritas of the Dark, because that just saw so much play when it first came out.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to narrow it down to my top pick. Oh, here's a one. It's a hero. Back attack Sephiroth. So I really love that. I think I'll probably have to step out of the nominations.
I say Tom's clear.
You had 1 week
about public opinion.
No, it was all my topics, and then I forgot to pick my own. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff there.
if we're giving out shouts to heroes this set, Desh is probably the best card in the game ever. Always just try and play it, especially in Rampier decks. That's all you need to do. That's it.
Yeah, this is my actual. I've nominated like half the set and half of the cards, but I think maybe card of the year could be Citra, because I think it's seen a lot of play in sort of top tier decks, but actually it's very flexible in lots of decks, and it does a lot of stuff for a lot of decks. It's very cool. Getting tumbleweed reactions here. So
No,
No.
I agree with you.
I do agree with you. It's the problem I have with it is like a personal problem, is that it's such a fun card, but I feel like it can add loads of creativity to different decks. Problem is, it's abusive in Wind Water. I know we keep going back to Wind Water, but that's why I don't like the deck, the card.
It's been abused.
So what
Yeah.
we land between all of our nominations, what we landing on? Because I the moment you said Gabranth, I was like, yeah, I can actually really see that.
Yeah,
I
we'll
think
go
it's
with
just
Gabranth.
it's done
Go
so
with
much for
Gabranth.
so long. Like, yeah, I'd go Gabranth.
Gabranth. Congratulations, Gabranth.
It wasn't
Feel like-
actually any of our top picks, but it won.
So
We're great at this.
the backup of the year. Mitchell, you can start with this one. Or should we go with Rich? He's
Yeah,
prepared.
go with Rich. Rich is prepared, so
Oh.
always go Rich first.
Oh, okay. I've got two again. And again, we'll just land on whoever we agree with. The first one is Nostalen from Opus 8. Just because it's been used in a lot of situations in Wind Earth and Mono Wind. And I just think it's been a pretty solid card this whole time. Mono Wind's kind of fallen a little bit behind other like deck archetypes at the moment, but even if it comes back in, Nostalen will still see play because it's a really, really solid card. And the second one is a bit more of a personal choice, and that is the backup Ramza from the Wraiths and Knights starter deck. Just because when you hit the holy trinity of forward, backup, and summon, it is the greatest feeling in the world. And realistically, you only need to hit 2 out of the 3 for it to be a good card. But I just think it's really solid. But the underrated part is the monster destruction, because we don't see a lot of monsters now, which means you don't prepare for it. You go to a major tournament, your opponent starts running monsters. This is an unconditional choose one monster, break it. So Ramza has you covered in that situation. If you don't use the break effects, then it's still a good card.
Another very well prepared.
Yeah, just
Well,
putting us to shame.
yeah, well done, Rich. Mitchell, can you follow that up, please?
Should be hosting this shit.
So I've got 3. Nostalen, which was actually one of them. So Richard's talked about that. So as I said, if it comes back, it's always going to be useful. Rampierre to trigger Rich because he genuinely hates the card and I love it. But the card that I actually think I would go for is a Pururu, because I think it's complemented the 11 the FF11 setup in the Earth. It's so consistent with it, and it seems like a staple. And you only need to run one of it to get the value out of it.
Okay, so Pupuru and Rampierre. Nice. So for me, so I'll start with my sort of personal pick, and that is Marlene. Lovely common. If you like FF7 and you are interested in the remake, then probably next year you will be playing Marlene, because it's absolutely amazing in a FF7 deck. You can get back Cloud, Tifa, or Bat and Aerith. So we know we've got a light Aerith coming. So if that's good as well, it's going to slot in lovely. So yeah, Marlene, awesome. Flipping on the EX as well is lovely jubbly. Top card. And then I guess probably a more serious one. Which I really don't know. I'm trying not to avoid any of the like Wind Water ones, so I just saw Penello and I thought it was trash, but apparently it's like top tier.
No, Penelo's fantastic, yeah.
I should shout out to Unai Doga, because they're cool and sort of a nice sort of newish mechanic as well on them. If you haven't played them, they're super fun to play with as well. So they get a sub nomination. Other than that, maybe Emperor Gishtal, just because it saw a lot of play. The dark backup.
Edgar's
Pretty solid.
because it enabled basically the Fire Ice FF6.
Oh, Edgar, yeah. So again, lots of choices. Probably just to trigger Rich, we should go for Rampier.
I think so. I
Is
think
it
You're really
Rampier
reckon
or Rampier?
I think it's
Uh,
Rampair.
Rampair.
Yeah.
I just like to sound more French, so I say Pierre.
Rampier.
Rampier.
For that, I think Rich, you happy? If we give, I don't really want to give it to Nosh Dallin.
I mean, I'm not happy, but if I'm being overruled here,
He's
then
been outvoted, so
we live in a democracy. You know, I'll go with.
It did invoke some creativity. It's got future life.
I revoke my vote. The best card, even though it's actually never not seen play, but it's still my favorite card, is Mitsuki.
Oh, give it to
Oh,
Rampier.
Mitsuki, yeah.
Okay, we'll give it back to Rampier then.
Have you ever played Mitsuki?
Yeah, it's fantastic when you actually see it.
This is coming from a man that plays Dominion Legionary in every fire deck he plays, so his opinion.
Not anymore because Mitsuki.
Oh god.
Oh no, it's forward Kefka in the best forward. Oh, I fucking love that card. Oh no, who did we give it to?
Gabranth.
Okay, Garam's cool because you can play. Yeah, you play him with Garam. That's fine. Okay, so we're going Rampier best backup of the year. Still got the spot. Yeah, Rampier, congratulations. Please contact us to collect your award. We'll move into summon now. So best summon of the year. Now, this should be a bit easier because there's not as many of them. So less for me and Mitch to scroll through on FX. The blind panic. Oh, they all fit on one page. Excellent. Okay, so Rich, do you want to start us off with your summons?
It's a toss up for me between the Opus 8 Alexander, the 4-drop choose one character across 4 or more, break it. I really like that because it's a very flexible card. You use it in a lot of situations. You know, if they're playing Unite, break it. They're playing Doga, break it. They're playing a forward that's costs more than 4 that you don't want to deal with, break it. Like it's fundamentally sound card, and it's super playable in Wind. And the other one is going to be Ifrit from Opus 10, just because the value you get from it is ridiculous. So choose one forward, deal at 8,000 damage. All the 5 forwards you control gain 2,000 power till end of turn. Like that is the summon that Fire needed to push it into playability. And then honourable mention is Bahamut Zero, just because it just totally ends games.
And also with Ifrit, it's like the first Amano art I think I've actually liked.
It's debatable.
I think it's good when you compare it. You put it next to like Chocobo in your binder.
Your bare ass Chocobo just sitting there.
Naked.
It's horrid, isn't it? A raw KFC.
No wonder Rich is vegetarian.
There's Mitchell, your summons.
All right, so I'll do the honourable mentions first. Belias, the new one. Actually love that card. Zalira in ice. Again with the Ifrit, I completely agree. There's Chocobo, but my actual choice is Kusith. I absolutely love that card. When I saw it, I thought it was like broken to pieces, and without tooting my own horn, even though I was right. It's brilliant, and so am I. End of speech.
Mic drop.
Yeah, Kusif, that was a good choice because that was one I was going to go for. So Kusif.
Oh, so Rich been outruled again.
I did my list. That's good. We're both saying the same thing. I also enjoyed, Belias Solera, cool. Let me try and pick one that you haven't picked. Yeah,
I do like the 1-drop Kuklane, the EX one, but loses all abilities and draw one.
That is good. Oh, Shiva. That's the one I like. Shiva from Opus 8. Choose 3 forwards or monsters, dull and freeze them. 4
Great
CP.
card. Yeah.
Card. Fortunately, if you're coming up against a lot of wind, water and stuff, they just activate everything. Anyway, but yeah, that is a great card. Alexander, I do like as well because it combines well with like Doga and like a Earth Wind. So yeah, so I've just chucked loads of names out. What do we want to go for on this one?
I reckon Ifrit. I think we've all
Ifrit.
We've all got a bit of love for it.
Okay.
Come on, I've
yeah.
got to win one of these fucking
Alright.
things.
Okay.
All right.
All right. In the name of diversity, because at the Oscars you always have to have one diversity. So we'll go for Ygritte.
We'll call this award "Give the Baby the Bottle."
The token award. Oh, okay. So that compiles our best card of the year award. So forward.
We're not doing monster.
Yeah,
Brown-
monsters.
Oh, yeah, monster. So that moves us to our final award for
Oh,
best
God, I'm
card.
just going to impeach
Monster.
Tom as host.
Oh, man. So best monster 2019. There are not many to pick from. So I
There
think
is only one right answer, even just scrolling through.
Oh, I'm interested
well
to
done.
know what you think this is.
Oh.
No, you go first this time. You've laid it out there.
Okay. So honourable mentions.
Ugh.
First, Scale Toad. Death Gaze. Is it Unganashi in this new set?
Saganashi.
Oh, yeah, whatever. It's just annoying. These and the other one, Kama, whatever it's called, Kana Kamu. Yeah, that one.
Kama Chameleon.
Yeah, that one. But
Okay.
the actual best card, I think, is Luminous Puma.
Okay.
Okay, see, and now I'm waiting for this.
Wow.
I'm just waiting for the absolute tsunami of abuse to come from Ridge.
Solid rationale there, buddy.
No, I just think like it's been so consistent in all Earth decks. Like most people will run it in with Larxius and have like a sort of semi-permanent loop where you can just keep getting it back and just get another card back, and it just seems like a very strong card that's always going to be useful.
Yeah, no, I'm not arguing with you. Like that was on my honourable mentions list. I was just interested to see what you put so highly above everything else that you kind of just said, "Oh, that's an obvious choice for me," and then listed off about 4 honourable mentions that
Yeah.
are all solid as well.
Because they are all B tier in comparison to Luminous Puma, which is S tier. Let's even skip A.
So Rich, do you want to chuck in your stuff?
Well, my nomination was going to be the first 3 days of Death Machine before he got rotted.
Oh, we didn't have Death Machine. Oh,
No. It got errated. It
Impossible.
wasn't banned. It
It
wasn't.
got errated. It wasn't a ban.
just-
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with Mitch. Like Luminous Puma is up there, Death Gaze is up there, and Saganashi is great this set. But a sneaky pick that you don't hear people talking about quite a lot is Dendrobium, and I know I've just triggered Tom by saying that because he hates the card. But I think Dendrobium is really, really solid, and if Ice was in a bit of a better place, we'd probably be seeing it a bit more. But I think Death Gaze. I think Death Gaze is just all round great card.
Yeah, Death Gaze is class. I'll probably say Death Gaze in my picks because it's wicked, but also no one runs monster breaking. So you play Death Gaze, and then they're like, "Oh shit, I can't actually deal with that." So
Now that I've given Backup Ramsey a shout out,
Backup Ramsey, yeah.
it's all just going to be flying in. But I just think remove from game is such a rare effect that there is no counter for at the moment, other than not being able to be chosen by abilities. So
I think you'll find that that dark 6-drop 10k was not coming or Eldnarch, where it just gets put back to your hand.
yeah, who's running?
Counted.
Come on, now.
Counted.
Come on now.
hard counter.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh
Yeah,
shit! I forgot Melty Gemini. Oh no.
Another honourable mention there, Mitchell. Okay, cool. But definitely Luminous.
One in
Puma.
every element. What can I say?
It's honourably mentioned every monster. Yes, so I'm gonna say Death Gaze. I've never played it. I don't really like it, but it is very good. Scale Toad, just because of it's like the worst card that the game could possibly have printed. But if you're playing it, you feel good. But if you're playing against it, it's awful. So the Toad gets a high nomination from me. Probably it, really. I don't really play monsters. Maybe that should be my New Year's resolution: play more monsters. So
Maybe
yeah, what are we gonna go
just
for?
Make better monsters.
Make better monsters. Yeah. What are we gonna go for? I think you're gonna go for Luminous Puma because
Yeah,
you said it.
Well, if everyone was thinking Death Gaze, I'm happy to have that
Well, I'm
one.
not thinking it. It's just quite good. It's another
No,
win
it's, no, it's
card,
Mitch's
so-
turn to be bloody democratic. So,
Okay.
it's
So
Death
card
Gaze.
monster of the year.
I'm all about the people. I'm quite happy to take Death Gaze because it's also an FF9 card. So
Wait, was it
Death-
you or Tom who said "fuck the community" before we started recording
I
this
did, yeah.
episode?
Yeah.
But we're all about the
It's a-
people.
Just disclaimer: Rich wanted us to do picks that were all sort of community focused, and I said no, fuck that. Pick your own. That's what we're going for. So yes, in light of the community choice, we'll go for Death Gaze. So congratulations, Death Gaze. What even is it? What type of monster is it?
a Death Gaze.
Type Death
Oh,
Gaze.
right, okay. It's like a little crazy cockroach thing. But yeah, well done, Death Gaze. Monster of the Year 2019. What an honour. All right, so now we'll just move on before we get into the real juice of the awards. With every best card, obviously there is also the sort of other side of things, which is the flop of the year. So flop of the year is a card that you thought was going to be busted and then just completely flopped. So what's been I want to say what's been your biggest flop of the year? Mitchell?
My biggest flop of the year, I would probably have to say, is Luso. When it was spoilt, everyone thought it was amazing. Thought it was going to be like genuinely push Mono Wind to the next level, especially with, like combining it with Yuri and stuff like that. And Wind used to spam quite well with the Varta, Barts, all that sort of stuff. But then Wind sort of died off. It's never used this card really. I even tried it and it just didn't seem to work well. It was just, I don't know really what happened to it. It's just not a very good card. And everyone was so hyped about it. As I said, I can't really explain what's going on with it.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Rich, do you have one?
Yeah, mine's the legend Fran, just because she was spoiled before all the other Sky Pirates, so it kind of filled my heart with hope. And then they released all the other Sky Pirates and all these little common weenie things that don't really do much. And I just kind of felt a little bit upset that I'd waited 5 opuses for like a really FF12 centric opus, and she was all I got. So I was super disappointed. So mine's going to be Legend Fran.
Oh, Fred. I'm just having a look. I think I've got 2. I think they're semi-related. And so one was a monster, which was Lava Spider. So again, so I'm going on the sort of angle that when we first saw these sort of spoiled, everyone sort of panicked and sort of threw their arms up. And I remember Lava Spider, everyone was saying it was completely broken because particularly it wasn't just limited to fire forwards. But then actually that didn't really become a thing. And then to go alongside that was Alphanord, which was the 2-drop forward that doled all forwards with a power inferior to Alphanord. Because I remember everyone was like, oh, and I think it was at the time Silence was doing all right as well. And people were like, oh, this is crazy broken and it doesn't choose and it's just going to be rubbish. And they saw a little bit, but that has gone. So they're probably my 2 flops. But I think we'll go for Luso. I think he probably has the strongest case being a legend.
Yeah.
Well done, Luso.
You flop.
What are they like rubbish? Is it the Razzies?
The
Yeah.
Razzies.
The Razzies. Wicked, right. So I've put this off as long as I can, but we'll move into sort of meaty 2 awards for the end. These 2, there's a bit of crossover with the nominations, so we'll probably explain why some have crossed over and get things. So the first is Best Drama of the Year, so quite a classic award. And there's a lot of nominations for Best Drama of 2019. Did you want to pick some out that were memorable, or should I just list the ones?
I think we should just leave you to it.
Yeah, I mean, we've discussed this at length, so.
I think this is all you, Tom.
I'll just caveat. So I had a few nominations for Best Drama. Then the next award that we'll move on to is called Misplay of the Year. And so that you'll see that there's some grey areas where one should be categorised. So probably Best Drama of the Year started off nicely with the Fordola incident, which sort of became prevalent with as more events became more streamed and people were watching a bit closer. There was an incident with the Fordola. I think you all know what it was. But Rich, you think that should be categorised as a Misplay of the Year. based on what happened. So we'll move that one out of this category. Minfilia gets a mention. So the 5 Minfilia, is it 5 or 4?
5.
Oh, you went 5. Okay, fair enough. 5 Minfilias, and the big scandal that came after that.
Gosh, all these tired Americans getting away with misplays.
And here we are getting banned.
I suppose you could put this podcast in misplay of the year. Lack of preparation. In fair, and then obviously the big scandal of the year, which I think probably, I don't know, maybe I edit this bit, but people probably enjoyed this one more, was player A gets the ban, which was obviously happened in the was it the Singapore Cup? Yeah. Stuff. So so lots of drama. I think what it spoke to, it spoke to 2 things for me. And one was not that people were now starting to cheat or try and cheat, because probably they always have done, but it was more that it was like a shift this year of, Square Enix sort of begrudgingly taking action on it. I don't think they really wanted to, but sort of as the noise grew, they've sort of taken action. We've seen players getting banned. We've got a lot of people
caught, which is a big thing.
They're getting caught, yeah, but also things happening as a result. And I think everything's getting streamed now, and people watch the streams and comment on the streams. I know every time we put out like a video on our Team Calamity page, within like 2 minutes, someone's like, "Oh, at 8 minutes 62, you only paid 2 CP for this." People call out the plays very quickly. So yeah, there's less place to hide now. If you're going to cheat.
Tired.
If you're tired,
sleep more, fool.
Sleep more, because you will get busted. But I think it's probably fair to say the best drama of the year goes to player A gets the ban. It's weird as well that they refuse to name people, so they just get given a designation like player A, even though we all know who it was. So yeah, player A gets the ban for me, and we don't know the full story because again they won't tell us what happened, but there's been lots of rumorings and stuff what happened. So well done, player A, getting the ban. You gave us lots to talk about this year. We very much enjoyed that, so well done. Moving on into misplay of the year. So again, for Dola you get a mention for your tired misplay. Minfilia you get a mention for sleeving up 5 Minfilias by accident. We also move into sort of the world of Asmodee. So Asmodee is the European distributor. So there was a lovely misplay this year where the FF14 starter decks were available to pre-order, and then when we pre-ordered them, they sent us a load of the old starter 14 decks. And since then, no store has ever been able to get the actual starters. I think it seems to only affect at least UK, maybe some of the European stores. So well done. So Mitch, Mitch, you had to order yours from the US, right? Because you just can't get it.
Yeah, no, it was just a nightmare.
But, a simple mistake, but one they've never been able to correct. So the FF14 starter deck is dead to us. So well done, Asmodee. And for that, you get the misplay of the year, 2019. Cool. Right, so we've just got one more award. And as always, you save the last award at an award ceremony for the Lifetime Achievement Award. So we've opened this one out for our first year of awards. This obviously will be any card from any opus. So your Lifetime Achievement Award. Rich, you have selected 2 nominations for this, which have annoyed me and Mitchell because they're both Windwater. And your nominations are Yuna, the backup Yuna, 2-drop, and Val 4-starter. Would you like to have some brief words on your nominations?
I mean, I'm not going to defend it. I think the selections speak for themselves, but I think in the spirit of the Lifetime Achievement Award, you're looking for something that's done long service, and I think both of those cards have been played since Opus 1. They're still super playable, and until they eventually get banned, they are going to remain playable. So I think they just fit the spirit of the Lifetime Achievement Award. I mean, the most recent winner of the Lifetime Achievement Award was Tom Hanks, who starred in like 80 Hollywood movies. And in the same spirit as that, I'm fairly sure like Yuna and Valfor have featured in like 80 tournament topping decks. So that's why I think they're pretty solid choices. There's not many things that survive playability wise from Opus 1, but those 2 are still going really, really strong.
Everyone does like Tom Hanks, though.
Insinuating that nobody likes Unival 4.
Yeah.
Solid.
But, are we going to go for both of them, or?
I think they're kind of synonymous with one another. They've just kind of merged into one card that you can play 6 of in a deck.
It's nice. Yeah, it's nice that a starter card has made such an impact. But
yeah, I know. I'd rather put it towards Yuna because I think she has seen play throughout the Opus, even when like Mono Water was strong. She run that, and Valfor didn't see play then. Whereas I think the 2-drop Yuna has been the best card, like through all sets.
Yeah, so we'll give it a Lifetime Achievement Award and then promptly shout for it to be banned immediately afterwards. Just force her into retirement.
Well done, Yuna. You've made it into the Lifetime Achievement. We'd now like you to step aside and play the other Yunas. People go play the other Yunas. And
welcome to the Tom Hall of Fame.
The Tom Hall of Fame. So that wraps up our award season for 2019. I hope you agree with all of our sort of slightly rushed nominations and award picks. We'll finish this episode with our haste takes. So if you've not heard this before, this is where you get a topic and you have 30 seconds to discuss your topic or give your argument before you're cut off. The haste takes this time have a sort of 2019/2020 sort of flavour. So who wants to go first?
Mitch, yeah.
Okay, ready, Mitchell?
Hang on, let me get out the clock so I know.
Oh, no, you don't need. I've got the clock.
No,
It's
against the spirit of hate takes. Come on.
Okay, all right, fine. I won't do it.
all right.
Just
Ready?
wait 5 seconds.
Can't believe.
Go.
Hang on. Okay, with the... Ready?
Yes.
Okay, so with the rise of WoF towards the end of this year, it kind of makes me think, whatever happened to Scions?
Scions, they have to pay 4 for haste, and that's just unacceptable in a like tribal deck like that. Rain comes down for free and has mostly cheaper forwards, and more removal because it gives all forwards removal, whereas Scions just don't have removal outside of Yida, I believe, and Yustola, so just a upgraded version.
Oh, hold on. There was a question about Scions, but you talked most about WoF, but that's fine. Rich, here's one for you. I think you like this one. So why did the Warriors of Darkness really take off?
Why didn't it?
Yeah.
It's difficult because they take up so much slots in the deck. In order for it to be consistent, they all have to be played as Glavers are 2 of, 3 of for everything else. Because all of the components are forwards, it's difficult to keep them all on the field at the same time. If they had backups that interacted with the forwards, it'd be a little bit more consistent because there's less backup removal than there is forward removal. But they probably didn't take off, partially because they're all forwards, but also because they take up so many slots that you're not able to run removal cards quite so much. So that probably was the most of it.
Okay, I sort of glanced away from the clock, so I don't know how long that was.
That was,
And then I was like, oh no, do I interrupt you or not? But, that's fine. So Mitchell, so now sort of looking forward to 2020. So actually I've talked about this with you the other day. So Warrior of Lights has so many different tools and options. Why has it never become a thing?
I think it's got to the point where it has too many tools to do stuff. I genuinely love the archetype. I think like it has absolutely everything it could need. Maybe apart from like on-the-spot removal, but you can get that through other cards. It's just, as I said, I think what it is the amount of lights that it has, that it really puts people off because they always feel like they can't have lights in their hand. They have to play them down. But your opponent doesn't see what's in your hand, so they don't know that. But as I said, I think it's just like a fear of all of that sort of combined.
Yeah, that's a little bit over, but I gave you a bit more time.
Thank you. It's Warrior Lights.
Rich, this might trigger you a little bit, but looking at 2020, do you think title format will now become a thing?
I mean, has it ever been a thing? I'm not a big fan of title format, but I don't know. They keep releasing every set like these new little tribals. So, I mean, we've got WoF, which is a lot stronger now than it used to be, and then we've also got the Sky Pirates and stuff like that. So it might take off, but I just think as long as the vast majority of the tournaments are focused around the constructed format, the title series will always take a back seat, and therefore it will never really get off the ground.
Nice. You never know. Like Sky Pirates could be the one. It'd be actually good in title.
No.
Well, there was one. I did an episode of the Crystal Tower, and on that episode, humble brag. Ban mentioned that in chapters there was like this complete S tier, totally busted FF12 Sky Pirates deck, and again, I got my hopes up in Opus 10, thinking that these cards were going to be, of that, chapters equivalent, and we were going to see some really busted FF12 stuff. And again, it's just super disappointed that it never came to light.
That's the same thing that happened to Fire, though.
Yeah, maybe that's the precursor. If it's good in chapters, it gets heavily nerfed in this. So Sky Pirates, you just got too good for yourself. We've digressed. sort of fluid haste take discussion here. Oh, we didn't mention Kings and Queens in the misplay of the year. Probably a good thing. Whose question was that? Oh, Mitchell, it's you now. So, do we really need another 2 Clouds and Sephiroths?
I don't think it's ever a bad thing to have more of the same name, because you always have the choice. Whenever you want to play a Cloud, you've always got the choice of, do I want to play this one or this or the other one? The one I believe that's coming out now is Earth, so it seems to be that Cloud's moving away from away from Fire and into Earth, and the same with Sephiroth, where it's going away from Ice into Lightning, and that I'm very up for, because it gives you the opportunity to use named cards in different elements.
Yeah, that's time. Yeah, that's valid, but that'll be fun for like 2 weeks, and then the set will come out with the legend versions, and they'll be back in Fire and Ice, and you'll just never see the starters ever again. And then Barrett will be really good. You'll be like, oh no, starter Barrett's gone. So I don't know, another starter deck for Final Fantasy VII. It's hard to criticize it. I do like Final Fantasy VII, but yeah. Right, Rich, this is the last one. Are we ready to bring back some of the bands?
Probably not. I think before they ban a card, Square goes through like a pretty solid process of trying to release counters, trying to release things that will hopefully push it out of playability. So if they were a bit more trigger happy with the bans, then I could see some of them being reverted. But I think they're so cautious and considerate when they issue bans that I don't see them ever really taking it back.
Fair enough. So that concludes our haste takes for 2019. Obviously this is being released in 2020, but yeah, that is sort of the end of our episode today. A year reflection of 2019. Do you want to quickly pick out what's been your highlight of the year? Mitchell, I'll go to you first, because I know you're going to sort of blow your own trumpet again.
I was going to say Kings and Queens, but I guess not now. Right, okay, edit that. I don't really
cut here.
Go to Rich, because I actually don't have anything.
Rich, what's been your highlight?
For 2019, my highlight was probably the Opus 10 release, just because upon release it created 2 like absolutely fantastic decks straight off the bat that were completely new in WoF and Rampier, and it just completely kind of blew it open. Worlds happened, no one really knew what was going to be seeing play, and both of those saw like loads of play. So for me, the Opus 10 release and the effect it had on the early meta of that set was just that made me really, really happy, because I was a little bit worried that a new set would come out, but we would just see majority of like Opus 9 and older decks see play at Worlds. So that was probably my highlight.
Mitchell?
Actually, mine was Opus 8. Just because my 2 favourite games are actually FF9 and FF7, and that was the set where it released both of them. They had all the VVs, and then you had like the Barretts and everything like that with Cloud in it, and it was just like a boyhood like fandom. I was like, oh my god, all these new cards are like all the names that I love and stuff like that. So opening up each pack was actually so good, just to see what they all did.
Yeah, and on a personal note, I'm trying to like give you another opportunity to mention the fact that you did well at the Winter Cup. For two,
Yeah.
yes, that was it.
Okay. Like, yeah, I did okay.
Yeah.
Modest Mitchell.
Yeah.
Probably my highlights. Yeah, the FF7 deck was really cool, like you said, for the reasons you said. But also, it was like you can play something that seems fairly memey, like an FF7 deck, but it was actually really good. And it's not top tier, but you could give people a good run for their money. So that's really cool as well. Really fun to see. I did enjoy that. Yeah, personally, I got to go to my first ever sort of big tournament playing FFTCG, which was at the Summer Cup and the Dark Cup. So yeah, it was fun to go. I mean, I didn't do very well in either of them, but it was fun to go. Experience.
Such a highlight.
I played Kageyama at the Dark Cup, so that was cool.
How did that turn out?
I mean, I don't like to boast, but I did beat him. It was a mirror match as well, so sort of outplayed the master, So. It's fine, it's chill. I won't bring it up. But not me to sound like Mitchell, just keep going on about the Winter Cup. So we will. But yeah, so that is the end of the episode for today. I guess even though it's 2020 already when this is coming out, I guess we should say thank you to anyone who's listened to us in 2019.
All 5 of you.
In fact, if you want, we'll give you a listener award. If you're one of the 5 subscribers, please contact us and you'll get your very own Chat Sith Award for being a subscriber. But yeah, on that note, we look forward to 2020, what it will bring for Alpha Band. But yeah, all the best. We will speak to you very soon. Thanks very much. Speak to you later.
Bye.
Bye.